Welcome to my desk. My name's Keon, and today I'm going to be drawing Tom and Jerry. Obviously, this is a very nostalgic show for a lot of people, myself included, and I just wanted to see if I could draw them and talk a little bit about the show while I do. So, let's get started. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to start just by drawing out the basic shape of Tom's head, his ears, and face. This is just to have a good base and reference for where everything should go when I start adding in more details. And I do vaguely remember this scene. It's been a minute since I've watched this one, I think, but it's Tom looking through a book on how to get a mouse out of the house. And Jerry is just being a troll a little bit next to him. And I can tell that this episode, or this short, is one of the earlier ones because of the drawing style. So there were several different eras of the show. Obviously, it was a really long-running cartoon. It started in, I think, like 1940, in the 40s at least, by two animators named Hanna and Barbera. And you might remember Hanna-Barbera cartoons because they used to play on Cartoon Network, or at least that's how I remember them. So I definitely associate that drawing style with my childhood watching Cartoon Network. And Hanna-Barbera made a bunch of other famous shows, like Scooby-Doo and Yogi Bear, I think Josie and the Pussycats. You can kind of tell which ones were made by them because they all have a sort of similar style, except for Tom and Jerry, in my opinion. Those episodes were much more classic looking, and then Scooby-Doo kind of had more of a 70s vibe, or like late 60s, I guess. The Smurfs, I think, were also by them. But anyways, they started out with Tom and Jerry, and it became very successful. They even won like a bunch of Oscars. I think like 7 for their shorts. And one of them was one of my favorites, which was, I think it was called Cat Concerto. And it was, Tom was playing like a concert pianist in this huge concert hall. It might have been, I can't remember what the name of that one was in LA, but the really big one. And he's playing like a Liszt piece by Franz Liszt, and Jerry is just like pulling hijinks from inside the piano. And that one won an Oscar. But it's funny because I think that year or the year before, there was a Looney Tunes sketch that was really similar. Like it had all the same gags and even the same music. And I think they were like accusing each other of plagiarism. I don't know how that turned out. I should read about it. But speaking of music, music plays a huge part in this show because there's not really a lot of dialogue, which I think is part of why maybe that it's so universally loved, because it's really easy to understand. It's all visual storytelling and other types of like nonverbal, so it could be pretty easily translated, or might not even need to be translated for it to be broadcast in other countries, which I think is really cool. So yeah, the music definitely plays a huge role. It often punctuates certain gags or like moments of violence because it is a very, very violent show. Probably one of the most cartoons. And famously, The Simpsons parodies this show with Itchy and Scratchy, which Bart and Lisa really love. But Itchy and Scratchy is a lot worse. I mean, there's blood and guts and stuff, but in Tom and Jerry it's much more tame. There's no gore, which is like, I think what makes it less offensive. Speaking of offensive, I feel like I should mention that even though I really loved this show growing up, and I still think it's great, there were some controversial elements to the show, at least in the earlier days. There was a character who was probably Tom's owner, named Mammy Two Shoes, and this was a pretty offensive character. It relied on a racist stereotype called the Mammy archetype that was pretty popular in minstrel shows at the time, which were just racist blackface comedy that was really popular in the States at that time. And they even went back and edited her voice in certain episodes. They changed the voice actor and re-recorded her lines to make it less offensive, less stereotypical. And even in some episodes, they completely cut her character out and replaced her with a white woman, which is kind of, I don't know if that's the best solution. But I just like to appreciate what about the things about this show that I liked and not focus on those other things, I guess. But they did make an effort to fix it. So now I'm just kind of filling in the sketchy lines, making them a bit more bold so the drawing will pop, and hopefully that will make it easier to erase the lines I don't want anymore. But I'm also not going to worry too much about it because this is obviously just for practice. So yeah, like I was saying before, there were a lot of different eras. So there was this era, which we're looking at now, which was the Hanna-Barbera era. But after they moved on, it was taken to Europe for a time, and the director of those episodes, Gene Deitch, didn't really know a lot about the series, and he changed a lot of aspects of it. He made the setting different, the music, the style, everything was really different. And I remember as a kid thinking that was really weird, those episodes. And then after that, there was Chuck Jones, and he's famous for a lot of Looney Tunes episodes. His episodes also were different. He changed Tom's look to match his style a bit more, and Jerry's too, to a certain extent. But his style of comedy didn't exactly match the original that much either. So I have a personal bias for the original Hanna-Barbera episodes. But they're all pretty good, and obviously they still even make this show today, so I think it's fair to have an evolution. And I think I'm pretty much done here. You know, the proportions are a little bit off, but that's okay. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and let me know in the comments if you had a favorite episode or short or era or whatever. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.